Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Oats. I am Jack Richardson, and of course I am joined with Vicky Masita. Now, Vicky wasn't with us last week, but she is
Yeah.
returned. So it's good to have you back. I missed you last week.
Thanks. It was weird because obviously I wasn't there, so that's upsetting. But I know that you did a very, very good podcast with our man Keefe, so that was all good. So I wasn't ruined. I wasn't missed that much. It wasn't ruined because I wasn't there. Put it that way.
Yeah. You know, I did okay. Running the.
You did all right. You survived.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So, what is new? What is new in the world of you?
What is new? Well, I'm massive.
Yeah.
I'm not massive.
Wow.
I'm not.
You've been massive for a while now. I hate to break it to you.
Funny. No, to be fair, the thing that is new is we are back training together because that is amazing. We have missed training together. I have missed being the stacked, jacked Titan together. We are having t-shirts made with that on, by the way.
Oh yeah, of course. That's inevitable.
Exactly. You will need to have one that just says jacked, and I will have one that says Titan, and then we can just stand next to each other, and it would just look epic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so we're back training together. Things are going very, very well in terms of online coaching. I've just been kind of like twiddling away as I always do on that kind of thing, which is all the good and all of the fun. In other words, not really much else is happening apart from training like a beast. Oh, my kitchen's finished. I didn't mention this, did I, on the other one? So everybody was kind of noticing that on Instagram, my kitchen was in my living room, and that's because my kitchen in the kitchen was actually being like completely torn to shreds. But my kitchen is finished, so I now have a kitchen, and I'm very excited that I am no longer living out of my living room.
Yeah, like we've arranged for me to sleep in your kitchen now, haven't we?
Yes, it's just about big enough to fit your stacked frame in one half of the kitchen. So I'm excited for you to come over and have a sleepover in the kitchen, because we won't move from the kitchen because it is the nicest part of the house now.
Yeah,
and it's where all the food is. So, you know, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. See, my kitchen is the worst part of my house, actually. It is, and it's probably one of the most important parts of the house for me. I don't know why. Like, it's just so narrow. So when me and Moll are trying to cook, we have to do one at a time. When we're trying to come past each other, it's like we have to slide next to each other to get past, and it's like oh, I need to go to the fridge. Oh, I need to get to the microwave, and we're just sliding across each other. It's just impossible.
Any excuse for a good slide.
Yeah, slide and grind.
Exactly, right?
But no, yeah, I would move house. Well, I am going to move house, mainly because I want a better kitchen. Well, you just tore your kitchen out and then.
Yeah, I did. To be fair, we've been living in this house for 5 years. It'll be 6 years, obviously, this Christmas. No. 6 years we've been living in this house. It just turned 6 years in July. And the kitchen, I'm like you, the kitchen is the most important place in the house for me. Because if you think about it, when people come around to the house, they all congregate in the kitchen for some unknown reason. And it's because as a host, you automatically walk into the kitchen and say, do you want a drink? No matter who it is, no matter why they've come round, you always offer them a drink. So they follow you like water buffalo and go and find the watering hole, and they just stand in there. So it's a really nice place. And obviously I'm a big foodie. I like cooking and stuff like that. So, and I like entertaining people. And in my kitchen, the whole place was falling apart because the guy who owned the house before we bought it was basically a skinflint, and he rented out rooms. So it was almost like a bit of a student dig house. So nobody really kind of paid that much attention to keeping or upkeep of the house, and that's the reason why the kitchen was falling apart. So yeah, it did have to get completely torn out, which was very easy to do. You just kind of like flicked the cupboard and it flew halfway across the room because it was that old and that decrepit, that it did that. But yeah, I mean, I have to say, when people kind of get their hair off because they're living out of their living room and they don't have things in their kitchen cupboards and stuff like that, I was there thinking, nah, it'll be fine. But when 4 weeks turned into 5 and then 5 weeks turned into 9, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm pissed off now. I want this shit out of my living room and back in a kitchen. So yeah, but it's all done now and I'm very, very happy with it. But yeah, I do think that the kitchen is a really important part in the house, especially when it comes to things like us and what we're doing in terms of like eating. Because,
absolutely, yeah, because for some people, they don't use the kitchen. Like they're not asked about the kitchen. The main thing that they will use is a microwave.
Yeah.
A
Chef
lot of
Mike.
people, yeah, a lot of people don't cook. A lot of people don't or cook, depending on where you're from. I'm a
Cook.
cook. I'm a cook lad. Because I'm a cook. I love looking in my cookbook. Yeah. Anyway, that was sidetracked.
Moving on.
But yeah, a lot of people just don't cook. And nowadays, and they just reach out for convenience, and then they wonder why they are fat. And
the thing is, though, right? If you take that back a little bit, because not all people are fat if they live off microwave foods.
No. What I meant to say is they wonder why, like they can't control the weight. I think that's the thing.
Sure. I agree with that. Do you think that has anything to do with the way that kids are being taught in school, though, nowadays?
I just think it is the way that, you know, how fast food has developed and how we've been marketed to as you know, get this, convenient. It's there, it's done. You know, years and years ago, cooking was the only viable option to eat. Really, you get the ingredients and you cook it, but everything's been made for convenience. Microwave meals, or you go to a fast food restaurant and whatever. So the act of cooking is now something that is seems to be like a luxury.
Thing of the past.
Yeah, it's a luxury, you know. Oh, I'm gonna cook, and you're like, oh wow, what's the occasion?
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm cooking, like I have to cook all my meals because, you know, a lot of people will also say, oh, you know, I don't want to eat healthy, or I don't want to do this. It's more expensive, but they will spend, you know, £5 every day on a meal deal, and then they'll probably go to Mackey's or whatever, go home, order a takeaway and whatnot. When in reality, you can save a lot of money actually doing that.
I totally agree. I do think it has got a lot though with like I was talking to my kids and even in high school they're not being taught the basics of survival. And by survival, I actually mean like how to cook. And it was really interesting because my 14-year-old, yes, I have a 14-year-old. I know I don't look it, child bride, all the rest of it. But my 14-year-old actually said, what is the point in going to school? Because they don't teach me how to live as an adult. And I was like, what do you mean?
There you go.
She said, well, I wouldn't know how to buy a house. I wouldn't know how to pay my taxes. I wouldn't know how to do this and do that and do the other. And when I was at school, when I was counting my maths on the abacus, because we didn't have calculators back in my day. But no, when I was in school, we were taught how to actually do the culinary basics. We were even taught how to make bread and things like that. Now, the thing is, they don't teach that these days, but they will teach you how to send a tweet on Twitter. Yeah, they teach you how to send a tweet because apparently that is part and parcel of fundamental life. I'm not being funny. I don't even know how to work Twitter. I'm not bothered either.
No, no. Do you know what? I can really go on a rant on this, but school teaches the majority of school of education, not the majority, well, a large part of the educational system is pointless, in my opinion, and they do not prioritize the right skills that they're trying to teach. Because a lot of people leave school and they don't have a clue, and this is why they get a job, just a random job for comfort, and then they're stuck there for years and years and years. And that's a lot of people that do that because they haven't been taught life skills to have initiative and just go out and you know, get what you want really. and invest in a career that they want, and the skills to do that, and a lot of skills of how to live independently, and how to budget your money, and how to just a bunch of essential life skills. They aren't taught, but they're taught, like trigonometry. I just can't remember the last time I used algebra in real life. Or a lot of this stuff I just can't remember the last time I used a lot of what I was taught in school. Now, obviously, schools are important because that's where I was taught to read and write, and and stuff like that, and to do maths, and science, and it gives you a base knowledge. But what I'm saying is, it also goes down the route of just pointlessness, a lot of the time, and it's just not right.
I do tend to agree. I mean, there is, talking about pointlessness, it transitions very nicely into the subject, isn't it? Talking about doing things that are pointless. Is there a point of doing pointless things? And it's a really poignant question, realistically. Poignant, God, I'm saying a lot of poignant type of things. But yeah, is there any point to doing something pointless? So we were talking about overloading and doing more exercise than necessary, or more movements than necessary, or training more often because it's just something that you want to do or you feel more comfortable in doing. But is there actually any point in doing it if it's going to render a pointless outcome?
Yeah, well, a lot of people will do the pointless stuff. I'm probably thinking, like again, in schools, they will just say, just in case you become a mathematician, just in case you want to become a poet in the 21st century, we will teach you these skills. And like same with when you're in the gym, I'm just going to do this amount of work in the gym. I'm going to do extra sets just in case, because I want to make sure I'm doing everything. But what could you be doing with that time? Could you be doing something better with that time? And let's talk about like just the gym as an example. If you're in the gym and you're doing just extra sets, or you're going in and doing a work a day or whatever, could you actually benefit from having that day as a rest if you are just training above your recovery capacity? For example, I'm just going to use myself as an example. I was doing a couple of back days a week now, and I was training 5 days a week. My back is my weakest area. Now I'm training 4 days a week. I train my back, so I train everything 5 days a week, and everything that's equal. My back is actually not progressing any slower from doing that. I'm the strongest I've ever been, close to the amount of muscle I've ever had. Now I'm doing less and actually getting more benefit from that. So it would be pointless. I could be going into the gym doing an extra back day just in case, it gives me extra growth. But that'd be pointless, because that time could be better used resting and recovery. You're only as good as your recovery. And if your recovery is shit, your progression is going to be shit.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people just think that it is all down to training, and then they just dismiss recovery altogether. And I have this a lot with my nutritional clients, especially strong men, because all they want to do is eat. And they're just like, oh, I just need to eat to get big. I'm like, yeah, but if you're not, get big and strong. But it's like, but if you're not actually recovering, then what is the point? And strongman is hard, man, especially if you're going to be doing an event session, say, for example. Now, if you think about it, if I just break it down, I was having a conversation with somebody who I've brought on. I can't tell you who it is just yet, but who's come on board to the Titan team. And he said he was with a nutritionist not so long back that he had to literally tell to piss off, because he was feeding him 8,500 calories a day. Now, for a strong man, you would kind of think, oh yeah, okay, well, they warrant 8,500 calories a day because they're nearly 7 foot tall and they're massive and they're 165 kilos and that kind of thing. So they're going to need all of the food, right? Now, the majority of my strongmen, between 150 and 165 kilos, which is big, you know, that's nearly, well, it's 3 of me, right? They are on average between 3.8 and 4.5 calories, depending on what they're doing on any given day. Now, if you look at event training, they're going to be picking up heavy objects, they're going to be running with them, they're going to be loading stones, they're going to be running with sandbags. There's a lot of movement involved in that. And just the sheer mass that they carry, that they have to move and shift, is going to require more calories. But it's not going to require 8,500 calories. Now, somebody who's training for a marathon and runs marathons, they're going to be lighter, they're going to be leaner and not carry as much muscle mass, and yet they are going to warrant more calories than somebody who does a strongman day. And they just will, because they're burning more calories, and they're probably more efficient at burning more calories as well. And it again comes down to the whole pointlessness thing. Why are you just feeding yourself to the point of sitting on a sofa and feeling like this big bloated beach whale because you've just stuffed your face with stuff? And it's not actually going to help your performance in any way. And it's going to hinder your recovery, because when you're so bloated and you go to bed bloated, your body temperature rises. And as you know, when you're hot in bed, you can't go to sleep properly, and you're tossing and you're turning, you get reflux and gastric. And there's so many other problems that you can have: edema and swelling in your ankles, and higher blood pressure, higher heart rate. It's all detrimental. So you're not recovering. Exactly. So it's literally a pointless endeavor. You are only as strong as the food that you can digest and the recovery that you can entail.
Exactly. It's excessive. I spoke a little bit about this on my post yesterday, is just eat as little as you need in a surplus, which is quite a confusing statement, because everyone talks about eating big and everything, but you need to eat the right amount. That's what it's about. You need to eat the right amount and train the right amount. And this is what it is. And this is where you have to be on top of what you're doing, and measure it, and be, measure all the variables that can tell you if you're doing the right amount. Because if you do, to me, it is near enough as detrimental if you're doing something excessively than if you're doing it too little of it. So if you're in a surplus, say if you're trying to gain and you're eating and you're eating a quite high surplus, okay, you're going to grow, but you're also going to gain excessive fat, and you're also going to have a shit time, and your amount that you could be productive within that phase, and the amount of time you can have in that phase comfortably and productively, is going to be a lot shorter. You can optimize it a lot better if you make smart calorie adjustments. Like, for example, with myself recently, I've just come off my diet a few weeks ago now, and my food wasn't bumped up really high. It was bumped up to around about 2,800 to 3,200, depending on if it's a training day or non-training day. I've gained a good 7 pounds off that. It's not high, and I was very hungry. In the past, I would have gone, right, okay, I'm just going to eat, because you shouldn't be hungry in an off season. You shouldn't be hungry whilst you're gaining. You need to eat. That's what's been shoved in our face. You need to eat to gain. But I've managed to keep my composition and gain half a stone. And I 7 pounds. If I did that before, I would have just gotten a lot softer. You need to eat enough to grow, and no more than that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this not so long ago. I don't know whether we were talking about it on a podcast or whether we were just talking about it in the gym when we were training. I can't really remember. But it was all of these people who were eating like 3,000 calories of a surplus. And it was like, actually, scientifically speaking, and we're talking about science as well as anecdote, the amount of calories that you need in a surplus is between 30 calories and 100. That's it. In order to actually grow lean muscle tissue at an adequate rate, that's all you need. scientifically speaking. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that is a little bit too cautious, but I also think that over 3,000 calories of a surplus is just too much. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
reckless. It's reckless at the end of the day. It's just, yeah, so we're back. Vicky.
I apologize. I had to do a mum thing. If I just kind of ignored that, that wouldn't have been very responsible. So I had to do it. So. Anyway, yeah, carry on. So we're talking about eating in a surplus, being pointless by eating too much, and almost being pointless in eating like too little. So
again, just saying it's with the training, the recovery, and it's with the food. I think the point is you have to be on top of it, and you need to do the right amount. Now, it's hard to find the right amount, but it's so beneficial to do the right amount because it's just a very optimal way to do it. And you just need to put in the extra effort to measure the variables that I'm talking about, your rate of gain, the images, your scale weight, you're a bit like in terms of training, your ability to your progression, your motivation, your energy, your mood, and this is stuff that we measure as coaches to ensure our clients are in the best spot they can be. Now, a lot of coaches will literally go, scale weight and photos, please, and the clients check in and they go, yeah, cool, carry on. Yeah, cool.
It's mad, isn't it? I also think that you've got to take into consideration lifestyle.
Because, exactly, yeah.
We were talking
lifestyle
about
and mentality as well.
For sure. We were talking about this earlier with me prospectively going to training 2 days on, 1 day off, because it was actually going to be more beneficial, not just for my life, but for my work rate, my mental fortitude, and actually giving myself a mental break as well. Because I train Monday through to Wednesday, have Thursday off, and then Friday, Saturday, and then have Sunday off. And I was getting to that Sunday and Thursday, and I was absolutely exhausted. And yet I was still working. I mean, I start work at 5 in the morning. I work all the way through until I train between 10 and 11. And then I train, I then come back, I eat, and then go and get the kids from school. Then I do my afternoon check-ins. Then I do my evening programming. So I'm not actually stopping work, as in like my actual physical job, until like 9 o'clock at night, and then I have to get up and do it all over again. And I was just getting no downtime. And then on the Thursdays, I'm studying, and then the second half of the Thursdays, I'm writing my programs and updates and various other bits, as well as being that constant support on the phone for all of my athletes. And it's just a lot. Whereas if I actually did my training Monday, Tuesday, had Wednesday off, I can do my check-ins. And then I've got all of Wednesday as well. So those 2 hours that I'm training, I can be more efficient in my business. So I've actually gained more hours in the days that I do less training for my work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it will benefit your lifestyle, but I really do think it will also benefit your progression as well.
My gains.
Because you've got to think, for someone as yourself, you train very hard, you train to failure, you train accurately, and you've progressed at a strength for your weight that is quite high. So that in itself is a high amount of volume because you are doing a lot of weight for your weight. So I yeah, I think you tapering down the volume is beneficial not only for your lifestyle, but also just for your progression. So it's a win-win situation, really. Now, it's important to note for anyone listening to us, you have to earn the right to taper down your volume.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically, you can't just go, a few weeks into the gym or a few months ago, right? Okay, you're barely training to failure. You've got no accuracy in your lifts, and you're relatively new to training. You can't go, right, okay, I don't need to train many days a week. I need to do very rock bottom volume because recovery. It's very individual, and this is what I'm on about when you measure variables. So like with Vicky, we're going to be looking at how she responds to this, and as in how your training is progressing. Like your training could very well just you can either not slow down, or speed up your progressions and your ability to recover. And you might, with training less, you might approach your sessions, you might be so buzzed and so motivated, you might, right, I'm going to smash this now. Whereas before, you could probably, you're training, when you're training constantly, motivation is such a big indicator of what, if you're doing too much or doing too little or whatnot. Because if you're going into the gym and you're barely motivated to train, and you're struggling to stay motivated, or you're struggling to stay energetic for a session, and you find you just drop off, then you're perhaps doing a little bit too much, and just drop back the days before, you completely drop off altogether, and you completely fall out of love with it. Because that could very easily happen. I mean, I've had that. I've been training for 6 days a week before, and during that training period, this was years ago, I was just going through the motions with my training. I was like, right, I'm turning up to the gym. Yep, I've done what's on the paper. I've done that many sets for that many reps. Boom, I'm going home. Repeat. Horrible way to live for training.
It is. And it's a funny one with motivation as well, because it's like you were saying, if you're pumped and ramped and amped up for the gym, you're going to hit it with absolutely everything that you've got. But if you're clock watching or you're log booking and you're looking at the logbook and you're like, oh, I've got 4 more exercises to do, and then looking at the clock and then going, oh, well, maybe I'll just do this. Maybe I just won't do my calves. Maybe I just won't do my abs, and that kind of stuff. It's definitely time to just kind of go, do you know what? Get the hell out of the gym. Just get the hell out of the gym and just take a few days off and just realize that, is this actually what you love doing? There was somebody I was speaking to, one of my clients, and she's a power lifter. I don't program her, I just do her nutrition for her. But for the last kind of 3 or 4 check-ins, she was like, yeah, this training session went okay. Really not motivated, really had to try and ramp up my motivation to go and get training this week because it's just boring and I feel like my fitness is going down, and et cetera, et cetera. And I just said, you know what? It's been the same for the last 4 check-ins that you're not motivated to train. Do you actually enjoy powerlifting anymore? And that's a question that I think that people should ask themselves quite a lot as well before they even think about taking on a program, or finding a new coach, or finding a new endeavor, or trialing powerlifting or trialing bodybuilding or whatever from a different sport. Is there a reason why you're not motivated to go and train? It may not be the volume aspect, it may not be the frequency aspect, it may not be the fact that it's crossing over into your lifestyle aspect. It might just be because you've reached the end of your love with a certain sport and you want to go and try something different. There's nothing wrong with trying something different.
No, yeah.
You can go and try it all you like.
I think I think if you're going through that, first of all, granted, you're not going to be motivated all the time. I'm not motivated all the time, and I absolutely adore bodybuilding. It's just no one's motivated all the time, no one at all. But if you are finding yourself constantly unmotivated, try having a little break. Like, this is why, like, when my clients are saying, oh, I'm losing motivation, that's an indicator of potentially overreaching, and having a deload might work just a few days from the gym out of the environment, and then a lot of the time they're like, right, cool, I'm fired up, and then we have another good training block. But sometimes, like I say, try a break. If that break does not work and you go back and you're still not motivated, I would question your approach. I would just strip it back. I would reverse engineer. I would question your approach. Is the approach for your goals something you want to change? Change it. If that's still not working, I would essentially try things, see if you could get that love. And if it's not, then perhaps it's time to call it a day. Because the worst thing you could do is just do something because you just
feel like you have to.
You feel like you have to, or like people expect you to, or whatever. It's very hard to come to terms, and I really hope that isn't the case for myself with bodybuilding ever.
Mm.
But it's very hard to come to terms like, right, okay, this was a big part of me at some point, but I'm gonna have to let it go now because I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I've tried to enjoy it. I've tried to encourage myself, and this is just. It's also when you do these things, this is just evidence as well, right? You've tried this thing and whatever. This is evidence that you have tried. Like having the time off, changing your approach to things like that. That is evidence that you've tried to get it back, and if it's not working, after trialing a few things, then yeah, again, it's just admitting that you don't enjoy it. And life is for enjoying things. So you can't spend the majority of it doing things you don't enjoy. And this is, things like hobbies, like with your training or pursuing bodybuilding, powerlifting, or whatever. And it's also with things like careers as well, like you could be in a particular career or a particular job. And I know there's so many that will wake up every day and complain about the job, but because it's comfortable and it's part of their routine, they will just stick with it. And some people will not jump ship and get out of that comfort zone to find something else that they enjoy. And unfortunately, people will waste their life like this, and it's very sad, and it's very, it's shit really, because people will just spend their life just doing stuff that they don't enjoy. So it's very important to just, I don't know, just probably ask yourself, like you said, Vic, is, am I enjoying this? Am I enjoying life? Am I enjoying my routine in life? Am I happy? Figure out why not, if you're not. And then
I'm always happy.
yeah, well, there you go. Because you're doing stuff that you enjoy in your life. You've literally,
I do.
you've got life, and you've gone, right, okay, I'm going to do this in the most enjoyable way for me. And there
Yeah,
you go.
exactly. It's the other thing that we were talking about in terms of enjoyment and possibly not loving training so much is following the logbook to a T. So
Yeah.
there was our leg session the other day. You started overthinking a set because you lost a couple of reps on the hack squat. And you were like, so fucking weird because this happened and that happened. I was like, mate, you're blowing out your ass and you failed at the bottom. That was basically what you set out to achieve. Just because you haven't hit a certain rep range does not mean that you have not worked hard.
No, yeah. Like I wasn't like gutted. I was just like, okay. But like I can very easily detach myself. I'm one of those. I'm quite a laid back person, so that, like, for some people that will ruin their session. For me,
sure.
like I wasn't. I was like, okay, that's weird. Why could that have happened? I'll reverse engineer, and that's fine. I'll just reverse engineer. It's not an issue. And if there's not a reason, then it's just one of those things. Me and Jack were actually on about this before. Like I'm just going in with an approach with training now. Logbook is there still. I will always advocate logbook because it's a variable that you can have that will just keep you accountable to your training.
It's good to have that routine as well, because some people can just go into the gym and just kind of go, oh, I'll do a bit of this today and a bit of that today. Whereas if you actually have a set routine logged out, you know that you've got something to follow. It almost gives you a bit of a confidence thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to approach the gym like that. I used to go, right, what exercise do I fancy today? But yeah, I'm sort of logging my lifts, don't get me wrong, but my main objective when I'm training is to go in and I will perform a set as accurate as possible and as many reps as I can until failure. And I will then go, I'll probably film it, or I'll get someone who's watching me. I'll go, how many reps is that? And I'll check it with my logbook. If I've upped it, yes, brilliant. If I haven't, no issue. No issue. Like I'm not attached to that. Molly was having an issue with logging her lifts. Molly's a good example because she's gotten very into her training. She started training properly just over a year ago, and she's done very well. She's gotten very into training, but she's also gotten to a point where she was getting upset with training as well, and forming a bad relationship. Because of logbooking, and this is where logbooking could be dangerous, is because like she was doing a set and she was like, wow, those numbers I didn't get the numbers that I want. And she was getting upset, and it was ruining the rest of the session. And she's genuinely, reduced herself to tears. And I've just said, right, okay, for now, what we're going to do is just put the logbook aside. Don't think about the logbook. Film your set, okay, and just literally go in, do as many reps as you can until failure with good form. That is the aim. And I promise you, you will progress. And film it. Make sure you're doing it right, and then probably focus on the reps after the set. Okay. Just don't get attached to the logbook, and this will encourage a healthy relationship with training,
and an enjoyable one.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason why when we train together, we have fun, we dance around, we fist bump, we do stupid videos and that kind of stuff for the gram. It's all for the gram. But when we get on and we actually do that set, we are all in, it's that kind of thing. We enjoy the sessions. And I have to say that having that session, the first session that we had when we were back together in Pull, because we've only actually managed to do 2 sessions together, haven't we, since lockdown. But that first session, I came back buzzing. And it's like I said to Scott, I have missed training with Jack because it's a completely different session when we train together, because we have that same work ethic, the same ethos, the same laugh, the same comic ability to actually transition from having fun and real enjoyment to working damn fucking hard and just getting the sets, getting the reps, getting the failure, either to failure, complete muscular failure, or form failure. So like on those hip hinges that we were doing on the RDLs, for example, I will go to form failure because I'm not one to bust a fucking hernia in my back. I don't want to herniate a disc at the end of the day. No. So I'm going to go to form failure on those kind of heavy lifts, because otherwise you're just going to do yourself an injury.
Yeah.
But other than that, isolation exercises and everything, we were pulling until we were fucking dying. And it was great. It was a great, great session. And it was the same thing with legs yesterday. We saw a couple of white spots every now and again. Mr. Jack Stanier, he was nearly sick. So that's always a good session in my book. Although he was playing reps in reserve, though. He was definitely playing reps in reserve.
Yeah, well, he started training with me a little bit. I think he's just getting used to that.
Yeah, it does take a lot to get used to. I was just quite good because obviously I've known you for a really long time, so I'm used to training to failure anyway. But yeah, going full on ham, and it's like, oh, I was going to be sick if I did one more rep, mate. You just do one more rep.
It's funny because you can't really. That's how like you can't really fake training to failure, because if you just start doing it, you just won't be used to it.
Yeah. Have you ever been sick in a set or after a leg day or anything?
No, never. Have you?
I've done it once on a leg day.
Was it due to actually the session, or was it due to like food or something like that?
No, it was due to the session. So basically, I had a protein shake. I remember it vividly because I remember the fucking taste of a protein shake coming up afterwards, and it was a chocolate protein shake, and it was absolutely minging. But no, I was put through this ridiculous training session. It was years ago. It was like in 2014 or something like that. It was a long time ago. And I was put through a ridiculous high volume, high intensity bloody session, which was pointless. And exactly what we were talking about, it was pointless. There was no real need at all to go through this particular training session. And I limped down the stairs. I had to hold on to this trainer's arm, his forearm, just to help me down the stairs because I was wobbling all over the place. And I went to the bathroom and I was sick. And it was absolutely vile. But after that, it was just like, I knew exactly what was going on. And I just thought that was just a stupid and pointless endeavor, because this is what we were talking about with personal trainers making their clients sick in their very first session. It's a pointless endeavor because all they're going to do is be sore, be upset at the fact, and probably embarrassed about the fact that they've been sick in a gym. and they won't want to come back and do it again because nobody wants to experience that. So why have you got to push somebody to absolute breaking point in their very first session? What's it going to actually show about you?
Exactly.
Is it going to
Exactly.
show that you're a hardcore dickhead? Yes, it is. Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah. A lot of trainers will brag about that as well. It's like, yeah, I've made my client sick or whatever. But if the client again, it's just that point of you need to do as much as you need to do, no more,
Mm,
no less. And if you are a good trainer, coach, whatever, you would, if someone's a new client, you obviously you don't take them to failure.
mm. What other things do you think are pointless that we do in the industry at the moment? What about things like measurements tools? So blood glucose. Do you monitor your blood glucose?
I do occasionally. I I probably need to monitor it more as well. I don't think it would be in a bad place as of now, um, just because I've finished dieting, and my insulin sensitivity is just in a better place now. But
Sure.
I think it can serve a purpose, but it also can be overused, and a lot of people will just be measuring it and be like, wow, okay, I've got this reading and do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Um, that's the thing. When you are using data, you need to do something with that data. You don't just measure it. It's like there's I remember working at Tesco and there was a bunch of old ladies going, oh, I've done these steps and I'm doing these steps, and I'm like, okay, what are you doing with that data? Are you aiming for that steps when you're not working, or they're just doing it to say that you've got this number. Which, if you want to do that, it's fine. In my opinion, that's pointless. That's when it's like collected data is pointless. It's like collected data does serve a purpose when you use that data for something.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I measure quite a lot of variables with my athletes, but I only do it for the elite level athletes because it's giving them that extra 1%.
Yeah.
When I used to coach general population clients, I used half the amounts of variables that I needed to.
There
Everybody
you
has
go.
separate sheets. They don't just have a blank template of their sheets because I have some for competing athletes who aren't elite. They're just like say a lot of my CrossFitters, for example, they're competitors and they're classed as elite. But then you also have people who do it in pairs, because they have different tiers and stuff like that. But strongmen, you have regional level strongmen, then you've got elite levels, then you've got worlds and stuff like that. So where they're the elite of the elite and that kind of thing. And right at the top, that's where I measure all of the variables because I can use really good enhanced performance tidbits on their game day, which we can trial when they do PRs and stuff like that, or try and get PR days, maxed overheads and stuff like that. But from there, I'll be managing a lot of variables. But if you give all of those variables to a general population individual and you say, right, I want you to measure this, measure that, and measure this. And then they give you all those numbers and you're like, okay, great. It doesn't apply to them. But all you're going to end up doing with them is causing fear and anxiety because it's just like, well, you've asked me to measure this. And now you're just saying, yeah, okay, that's great. But now what do I think about that? Is that normal? Is that not normal? Should I be at that level? Should I not be at that level? There's a lot of variability that you need to do it. So again, I think it's pointless coaching in a way to get people to monitor all of these different variables.
Yeah.
You're not going to actually use it. It's like a meal timing
Yeah.
approach
And
for
also,
a general population client. It's pointless.
yeah. And it's also like it's harder to adhere to as well. For a
Totally.
general population client, it's like the more higher you are and the more experienced you are, the more higher your goals are, the more elite sort of athlete you are, the more you want to be on top of variables and things like that, like you said, for the 1%. But if you are starting out, you're relatively new, or you're a general population client, it needs to be a lot more basic, because general population clients don't want to be doing a ridiculous amount of things, go from nothing and then doing a ridiculous amount of things. They just won't adhere to it. And again, like you said, it's pointless. Like, they don't need to do that as well. It's just hard to adhere to. So yeah.
Madness. I suppose we are coming up on time. We've been talking for about an hour now, right?
Roughly, I would say about 40 to 50 minutes.
All right, cool. So yeah, did you have any questions over the Instagram relating to anything? Not obviously because of this podcast, because we were just like, hey, we should podcast today. So I know that we haven't put any questions out there, but have you had any questions recently about anything that has made you just kind of go, why did you ask that?
I remember a lot of people talk to me about starting steroids, actually.
Again?
Yeah, just people messaging me in regards to starting steroids, because I've started them. They think potentially maybe either they're more comfortable talking to me about starting them, or that's maybe encouraged them. And a lot of people do not even need to think about it either ever in their life, because for what they want in their life is just, it does not require the use of assistance. It does not.
Again, pointless.
It's pointless. Performance enhancing drugs. Like I had someone inquire, like I have people inquire with me, and this particular person was like, right, okay, I just need a bit of guidance. Also, do you think I should start steroids? I'm like, okay. Let me know your goals, what your current diet is, your current training is. Like, I go to the gym sometimes, my diet's not very good, and my goals is I just want to look good. I'm like, absolutely not, man. Absolutely. You probably never, ever need to even think about that, okay? Unless your diet and your training is on point, you shouldn't even consider the use of steroids. And also, unless your goals require literally unnatural, it can't be sustained naturally, then again, don't even consider it. So that was my response to them. But like, I think it's just a lot of people are quick to jump the gun, and they don't realize what is attainable naturally at all. They're just a bit misguided. But I'm going. There's one person that came up to me actually, and they had been sold the dream on steroids. This is why I'm saying this, is because they've been sold the dream on steroids by people who use a high amount, a stupid amount, and they were literally told all the positives. And they came to me like, right, cool, I'm on. And I was like, what made your decision? It's like, well, these guys are on. They said all these things. I was like, did they tell you any negatives at all? Just out of interest. Did they tell you any negatives? No. Wow. Okay. That's so irresponsible. They've ruined a lot of stuff for you because of that. And what they recommended him to go on was ridiculous as well. It was very, very dangerous. But yeah, and there are people out there, and they are the biggest, some of the biggest dickheads in the industry that go around saying, oh yeah, you should go on and whatever. And a lot of coaches will do that with their clients.
Oh, I had one as well.
Yeah. Because what it is a lot of coaches will push drugs on their clients, and again, sell them the dream or whatever. You know, you make a lot of progress very fast, blah blah blah. And what it is it's a more impressive transformation photo for them to post.
But you see, I don't even think it is. I'm not actually going to take anything away from that. But even when you go on steroids, when you even first you'll start your first cycle, you still have to train fucking hard in order to look good, and you still have to get your diet on point in order to look good. You can't just take a fucking steroid shot. Sorry, I get really irate about it, because I'm quite passionate about it.
Me too.
Just take a steroid shot and then all of a sudden turn into a fucking Adonis. You can't do it. And or you can't just take your very first cycle and then be Britain's strongest man. It doesn't work like that. You still have to put the groundwork in, because if you eat like a dickhead and you train like a dickhead and just take some steroids, yeah, all right, there might be a little bit of a change there, but it's not going to be this astronomical amazement that's going to happen. And what I do think is a real big irresponsibility is when coaches, and I'm going to say that very loosely because they're not coaches, when they say, exactly, when their client comes to them and they say, oh, I'm feeling like I'm stalling in terms of my strength or in terms of my weight loss or in terms of my physique enhancement and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. And they just say, well, you know, have you ever thought about test? Or have you ever thought about Anavar? And they've only been training for less than 18 months. It's because the quote unquote coach doesn't know how to either A, motivate them, or B, change the program to actually make them adhere to it, or get them stronger, or make them lose more weight, or make them increase their physique enhancement. And that's all it is. It's a lack of knowledge. So they're just like, okay, I've got lack of knowledge, drugs. I don't know how to do drugs.
Yep.
I feel like I'm losing strength, drugs.
I've seen this, and again, they won't tell them the negatives. Like when I made the decision to go assisted, that was really what I was focusing on the most, really, because I knew that I would progress faster and I would be able to reach an unnatural standard. Yeah, that's like a given. That's like a very well-known thing. What isn't well known as the negatives. So when I was making my decision, I made sure I just researched the negatives as much as possible before I made the decision. And I implore anyone making the decision to think about their diet and training, make sure that is on point, and make sure that's on point consistently. Make sure your goals will match what the use of performance enhancing drugs as well. If they don't bother. And also research the negatives a lot, and
definitely
decision. That's what I implore. And also, if you have a coach that is telling you to go on steroids, I don't think any coach should tell a client to go on steroids, really.
Absolutely not. No. If anything, they should try and steer them away and just kind of, well, not really steer them away, because obviously it's an individual.
Just inform them. Just give them perspective.
Absolutely everything.
Perspective is everything.
Exactly.
Perspective on this decision. Because if a coach tells you to go on steroids, you need to tell them to fuck off and find a new coach. And
definitely.
Deadly serious about that, because it's not acceptable.
Especially if you've only been training for like 12 months. Jesus Christ. And if you're 18 years old and only been training for 12 months, and if you're a boy, if you are a male and who's a teenager with raging hormones at 18, 19, you do not need any additional testosterone. You do not. And you don't need DECA, and you don't need Tren, and you don't need Super Tren, and you don't need anything else. You just basically need to be a hormonal teenager. Work hard, eat hard, you'll grow.
Yep.
Next patient.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Honestly, oh god, it's so frustrating. But
it is.
I feel like I need to be walking into gyms with a megaphone and just shouting their stuff onto people, because there's a lot of people that just will make the decisions just based on their mate. Like I've had kids come up to me and they are 16, 17, and like, my mate started steroids and he's making a load of progress. I'm like, I say to him, I'm like, you dare go on steroids, and I'll kick you. I'm the dad, you know what I mean? I'm like, you dare even think about that. That guy is doing a very stupid thing. Yeah, he's reaping the benefits, the short-term benefits, but he's going to be in a mess with what he's doing right now. Because he's not educated on this at all. He's just sticking stuff in him and he's just bragging about it.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough of a rant. We had a nice rant. That was a nice rant.
I could rant all day.
I know. But we haven't got all day, my man, and I think they're probably bored of us ranting now.
Yeah, I know. There's only so much ranting you can take.
I know. Anyhoozle, we're going to put a poll out. We are going to have a guest next week. Give us some suggestions on who you would like us to speak to. Who would you like to hear from? The listeners. Answers on a postcard.
Yeah. Wicked. Cool. So that is finishing us. That is finishing up now. Thank you for listening, of course, and stay tuned for the next episode. and stay groovy. Cool. Have a good week, guys. Bye.
Bye.